it's always controversial when we talk about the best styles for mixed martial arts and for combat fighting, combat competition, and even real world application. So, Jamaica is a karate country, and it's super interesting that Jamaica is a karate country because all of our fascination with martial arts actually comes from Kung Fu. It comes from Chinese martial arts. All of the people that Jamaicans grew up get building this fascination, especially my generation and before my generation, building this fascination for martial arts came from Kung Fu, not karate.
So
So,
you want to see how good you
Bruce
are, and
Lee,
you must be
Jet
tired
Li,
of living.
Jackie Chan, all Kung Fu, all Chinese martial arts. But Jamaicans call everything karate. And of course, karate was actually the first to come here as a martial arts. And it was very popular. I was even, on Enter the Dojo as a child. I did karate, I did Seido karate. And karate is very popular. We actually have a karate and taekwondo are actually the most popular here. My background is kung fu and Chinese kickboxing, sanshou, sanda, but karate is very popular here as well as boxing. Karate, we even have a combined martial arts team. Big up to the combined martial arts team, who are the winningest team ever. They consistently compete at a very high level all across the world, and they don't lose, which is incredible. So big up to them. Now, that being said, the way they compete and the way they train is what I think makes karate not the most effective for MMA. Okay, so MMA started, UFC started, really the original origins of UFC was from one guy saying, I bet my style can beat your style, right? And we all played Street Fighter, we all played all these games where everybody had their different styles coming in, and it's something that fascinated people from that time, and we've always been fascinated by that conversation, that debate. And I'm very willing to have somebody come on the podcast with me and talk about this. And of course, you can leave your comments and what you think. If you start cause bad enough for me, may I block you? May I tell you that, Fran? No. But anyway, for karate, so look at the way they train, and I'm gonna separate Kyokushin. We'll talk about Kyokushin after. But when you talk about the other styles of karate, you'll find that training punches, doing this kind of thing. This is something that is still trained, and this is a traditional martial art. It's thousands of years old, and there are certain aspects that have not evolved. For the sake of tradition and so on, they keep it. Now, first I start with the fact that karate does not have a ground, any kind of ground fighting involved, other than to strike once you're on the. So there's ground and pound, but other than that, there's no grappling involved, which immediately makes it. It takes away more than half of the effectiveness of it in MMA, and I'll say that because it's been proven that if a pure grappler and a pure wrestler go in a fight, the grapplers win 80% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time. And this has been proven. There are too many videos out there for us to even have an argument about that. Alright? Especially when you go back to the early UFCs and so on. That's why a small little man like Hoist Gracie, who revolutionized this whole thing, the Gracies already proved this. And Hoist Gracie, a small little man, was beating 300, 400 pound man with a very no rules barred kind of fight. You could even strike to the balls at the time. So, coming back to karate, so as a striking art, you'll find that because of the way they train, that already leaves you open for lots of trouble. And we've seen that in kickboxing matchups. You see, when you see karate versus Muay Thai, when you see kickboxing versus karate. And this is a problem because the way you train is the way you compete. So the karate fighters who've made that adjustment and become great kickboxers are the ones who made that adjustment. They've added the boxing aspect to their karate, right? Because you'll find that their boxing is weak because of the way that they tend to train. Also, it's the way they compete. When you see karate fighters compete, they don't do leg kicks first of all for point competition, and you stop after each strike. So take a look at this video, for instance. And I literally just chose a random video, and it shows exactly what I'm talking about, where you strike quickly and you stop, right? And it's really about, I mean, the guy threw a strike and then looked around to the judges. Did I hit him? Did I hit him? And it's funny because if you enter into a fight like that, thinking that one strike is always going to be all you need, you will always get knocked out. Like, there are times when you land that one strike and it will work. And karate fighters will tell you about their chi and all this. But if you practice taking time to build your chi before a fight, what happens when you don't have time? What happens when you're under pressure? Right? It's the same thing with breaking boards. And there's arguments for why breaking boards absolutely means nothing. It means that you have the ability to focus your energy and your strength and your chi in one place. However, how does that translate to a fight? You don't have time to focus up all that. Or, hopefully you don't. If you're fighting somebody who have sense, they're going to rush you. Or they're going to not give you space and pressure. And that's how you beat karate fighters, especially the point fighters. You take away their space and you give them pressure. And I'll show you a couple of examples here in kickboxing. So like in glory kickboxing, you have guys like Raymond Daniels, who, because of the effective parts of karate, of point fighting, which is speed, precision, deception, and then of course the counter striking. Those are their strengths. You give them space and they can, do all kinds of things. Also, their ability to move in and out very quickly. The problem is, like I said, the way they compete, they're used to stopping. You make a great strike and you stop. So what happens when you look at a man like Raymond Daniels, in his fight against Nicky Holston, or even his fight against Joseph Valentini, you see how they're just walked down. The fence is up, you walk them down, and they also don't practice a lot of leg kicks. So the fence is up, walking down, you kick away, you take their legs, you take their body, and the karate fighters slow down. You take a fighter's legs and his body, he's not going to be moving as much. And then he's gassed because all of his game is dependent on constant movement, in and out movement, right? And then you start to take, and of course if you're taking his legs and he can't be jumping up and down, and you take away that explosion from him now, right? And then you're able to knock them out. And this is what happens. And I rate Raymond Daniels as one as the best. Same thing happened to MVP, who also gets a lot of knockouts, fantastic knockouts from guys who don't have that kind of educated striking, right? So they don't have the educated defense and they don't have the educated striking. So what you see happening is they're trying to do the same thing these fighters are doing, but they're not as good. You can also pressure these guys for takedowns, right? But you have to do it in the right way. You have to distract them with the strikes and then go for the takedowns, or else you're gonna end up in the same boat, running into a knee, and so on. And we see MVP doing it. We see Raymond Daniels doing it. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is the same thing. The other thing you'll notice about those three fighters is that they're extremely boring fighters if you don't have somebody pressuring them. When guys decide not to pressure them and try to play the same game, it's so boring. Stephen Wonderboy against Tyrone Woodley, they're both waiters. They both wait in order to effect their game plan. Super boring fights, right? But the way to pressure these guys is you have to have a very educated defense, right? And you have to know your angles and so on. And you have to be constantly threatening or constantly striking, right? So it's the same way you see Paul Acosta versus the Uriah Hall the first time, right? And once you start to pressure these guys, take them down, fatigue the legs, fatigue the arms by wrestling them, clinching them, kicking the legs, kicking the body, taking them down, making them work. And then, like I said, if you're a karate fighter, to get to the top, a lot of these guys are able to get to the top by having just extremely good takedown defense and being super deceptive, super precise, having great counter striking, and being super explosive. That's how they get there, but they can't maintain it because then they meet other guys who are super excellent at what they do too, but also have wrestling, also have jiu-jitsu games, right? So you have to add those elements to your game, but the karate by itself will never be enough. Sorry, let me just say, none of them by itself will ever be enough at the top levels. So let me just discount that there. But I do think the karate game has too many holes because of how they compete and how they train, right? And that's coming from me who used to do karate at one point, and from the evidence that I've seen, in the fights and so on. So it's wonderful that they're deceptive. It's wonderful that they're fast. It's wonderful that they have great counter striking, but there are ways around those things, and the top fighters have found them, even if they're not going to take them down to the ground. So Kyokushin, I separated Kyokushin from the start because Kyokushin has wonderful combinations. So it's fluid striking with combinations. So you'll find that the point karate, once they throw 2 or 3 strikes, their footwork is off. They're not in a good position to re-establish proper striking, proper offense and defense. And that's what happens. So they go brrr, and then they're off foot. And then they have to get back before they can re-establish their legs. Right? So that's why when you can stay on top of them, boom, 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 see the strikes, block them, and then just be ready again in your striking stance to throw strikes. This is what happens, and that's what Joseph Valentini did with Raymond Daniels. That's what Nicky Holskin did with Raymond Daniels. When you see MVP versus Douglas Lima, that's what Douglas Lima did, right? Douglas just went for that leg, kicked out the leg, took the head. You know what I mean? Right. So Kyokushin is different though, because Kyokushin is much closer to kickboxing in that it's fluid. Their training is hard body training. The biggest problem with Kyokushin is that they only punch to the body. So they have beautiful fluid combinations to the body that go into head kicks and leg kicks. They also kick to the legs. They have very, very fast spin kicks. They have, very, very strong kicks, and they train hard body as well. But, like I said, the problem is that they don't train punching to the head. So they also don't train defense to the head. Right? So when you saw Andy Hugh fighting against the Muay Thai fighter, which is a fight they set up, and they man, it was so messed up. They leaned the rules towards the karate because they said no punching to the face allowed. And I hate this when they do Muay Thai versus karate and they say no punching to the face allowed. It's so unfair. And they obviously take out the elbows already. So you're taking away the elbows, you're taking away the punches. And the Muay Thai fighters still tend to do very well because they have such excellent leg kicks and, defense and range control. But if you take away the clinch and you take away all of these things, you're just fighting a karate fight. And in the streets, what's most effective is the ability to protect your head and the ability to strike their head, right? That's what you need. So you see now, in that fight with Andy Hugh, he them in a exchange and them get punched me in the head. And them stop and them punch me in the face, man. Dude, are you training to fight? Or are you training to what are you doing? You can kick me in my head, but I can't punch you in the head. Makes no sense. And that's my problem with Kyokushin. But we have seen how Andy Hugh then went on to become a great, great kickboxing champion because he adjusted and added that boxing to his game. And of course, it was the rule. It's all about your rules. So those were the rules, and he went with that. The same thing with Bas Rutten, with Pancrase and so on. You have many other karate champions who went from Kyokushin and became very, very effective kickboxers. So I do give a lot of ratings to the Kyokushin karate. However, by itself, if you're not learning how to defend your head and you're not, and you're practicing point fighting, it's gonna work against you if you go into real kickboxing or real MMA, because it's teaching you bad habits, right? Just like this, it's always stopping, like always stopping after you think you landed a great strike, is a really bad thing, and I've seen it happen in sparring. It does happen when I spar against karate fighters. They kick and they stop, or strike and they stop, or they expect you to stop, or they just can't handle the pressure, right? Especially, and they also don't defend their head very well. And what you'll find a lot with karate fighters is that they punch like this, or they strike, they run in and they strike, and their head is in the air. MVP, you see him do it, but he's so fast that he has gotten away with them, and because he's so tall. But his head is way up in the air when he strikes, as opposed to having the head defended while you're striking. So put down in the comments what you guys think. I know it's going to be controversial, and I'm excited to see what y'all think. There's the mass of striking arts for MMA in Jamaica comes from karate. So I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for this, but don't you worry, I'm going to cover Taekwondo, I'm going to cover Kung Fu, I'm going to cover boxing, I'm going to cover judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, all of them. And like I said, there are great elements to these arts if you can adjust and add other things to your game. But by itself, standalone, not great. So thank you very much for tuning in. This was MMA Jamming with the mighty Kyle Chin. This is episode 2, and I'm happy for all the support I've gotten so far. Thank you. Keep on watching, keep on supporting, and just remember, be mighty. Big up on yourself. Peace.